Okay, yes, I've already given you the punchline. But interesting thing happened today. So we have a lake. It's a few minutes from my house, and it's a man-made lake. It's quite popular for rowing, and there's also a local dragon boat team that uses it. It's not super deep. At its deepest, it's a bit over 2 meters, which I think is about 20 foot. So it's not super deep, but it's deep enough to sink a car completely, theoretically. It is, however, quite muddy on the bottom. It's not an instance of it being muddy because of the water retracting or anything like that. It's muddy because it's also a sanctuary for local water birds. So there's heaps of birds on the water, usually, when they haven't been disturbed. There's also turtles there, and a few years ago there was one that was actually nesting in the area. So yeah, it is a somewhat muddy bottom. Now, this is not something that you see ever in our area, but this happened today. So somehow this person in their car managed to drive over a curb in the car park area onto the grass, over a walking path, and given how popular this lake is, thankfully no one was actually injured. And then they proceeded to head down the bank and into the water. In terms of momentum, getting into the water, they, as you probably saw from the video at the start, there is a bit of a drop from the bank into the lake. So they launched a little bit, which would have given them a little bit more momentum to get into the water. But they didn't float. When the momentum stopped, the car sunk and it got stuck in the mud. Lucky for the people that were in it, because then it meant that the local rescue people were able to head out in their little dinghy and get the people out of the car and take them to shore. But in terms of the car itself, what you see is what you get. There was plenty of water there that the car could have floated. You only need a certain amount of water to allow a car to float. But this car got stuck in the mud. How does this apply to Kylie's car? If you have a look at the area where her car went in, there's an image that sticks in my head of one of the dive teams. It was probably Plaza, I'm not sure, but it was a news clip, and it shows the dive boat basically heading into shore and jamming up into the mud on shore, and everyone just hops out and wanders off and leaves the boat without securing it, because they were obviously quite confident that it was stuck in the mud. So, in case you haven't quite got the gist of what I'm saying, how come Kylie's car didn't become stuck in the mud in the shallower water of Prosser Reservoir? when it went into the reservoir. Can someone explain that to me, please?